It's very strange. Maybe because of something I said? I'm not sure. Or there's a time limit? I don't know. But yeah, I was getting to how you can tell these things. I'll just maybe wait to see if anyone is going to come back or if they're waiting for me on the other one. It's so frustrating doing a live. I can never say what I want to say without being interrupted with technology for one reason or another. Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened. YouTube just cut me off in the middle. Glad you were able to find me. I don't know if anyone else will find me. It's just, I have the worst luck when it comes to technology. Yeah, I don't know if there's a time limit now in our lives or if I said something that they didn't like. But yeah, so I was talking how you can indicate there's a whole bunch of information out there, particularly with the skulls, the size of the skulls as well. Male skulls are always much bigger, but for me the big smoking gun is the clavicle. The female clavicle tends to go straight down at a curve, and a male clavicle goes straight across and is very prominent, where a female clavicle doesn't really show. So you can look at a lot of built people who are presented as men that might actually be female. And again, there's a lot of videos like that out there that I can share. I'm glad you guys found me. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I got cut off. I have really bad experience with technology, and like I said, trying to do this video, just one problem after another. So I don't know what happened. Yeah, community guidelines, community standards. It might have cut me because of some of the things I was sharing. So if it's not true, then why are they censoring it, right? That's a good indication to know. Hello from Dublin. I love Ireland. I miss it. Hopefully I can come back sometime soon now that I'm starting to travel again. But anyway, so I woke up to this, and aside from seeing like someone like Marilyn Monroe, someone who I looked up to being a female role model, or just what it means to be female and to be very feminine and things like that, and innocent, I guess I really like that as well. To realize that deception is just very frustrating, but then it also makes sense because they have so many drags playing Marilyn or trying to do Marilyn, right? So, and there's a reason also why the term, where the term drag queen comes from, or why we call people drag queens, and that's because of royalty. If you look up all of our royalty now and in the past, you'll see that they clearly are, the women are men and the men are women. And again, you can tell by the skull. It's a very wide, big skull, and big, huge brow line as well. That is deep, kind of, there's a big curve there. And like I was saying about the clavicle, Adam's apple they can shave though. Like there's a lot of things that they can do. They have Photoshop and they have the best lighting, and sometimes they have it there to just mock us, and other times they don't. Like there's just, they have some pictures with Marilyn with an Adams, and other times they don't. So yeah, there's many ways to tell. Female skull is very small, or is a lot smaller, and it seems like the male actors are all like these really kind of pretty boys sort of thing, and their features are more closer together. So their eyes are closer together, their nose is quite small, their lips are even small as well. So that's a good indication you can tell. But I just suggest, like, if you guys are a little bit curious about what I'm talking about or are open to exploring this possibility, I understand it's really hard to think about, particularly, like, it made me not want to listen to any music or watch anything at all because of this deception, and how deep it was, and how they're vying so much to get our attention, to hold us. So it's also happened because I saw Jewel started really promoting and trying to make it seem that it was okay and there's no problem with trans and drags wanting to read to children and stuff like that, and just completely discrediting the concern about it that parents have with their kids and all of that. So I have to be careful with what I'm saying now because community standards I'm being censored right now as I speak, and that's why I lost my previous video. I got cut off. But she was fine with that, and I'm like, what the heck? And then I saw that she they said that she's dating Kevin Costner. I don't believe all these rumors, but okay. But then she made a video and a picture on her Instagram that she was in Necker Island with Richard Branson. And if you look up Necker Island, it's associated with Epstein Island. And she's saying she's there to help the children and all that. And I was like, my heart sank. And I had this really bad feeling in my gut, realizing that, oh my gosh, he is also one of them. The person that I looked up to most of my life and has been my role model has also been deceiving me. And again, she's famous. You're not famous for no reason. You do have to sell your soul. You are in this sort of group. And I realized that, you know, her son has very feminine features and he has long hair. And I decided to then look up her ex-husband's new partner, wife, and I was like, you just do a little bit of research and look at the photos, and sooner or later you're gonna see photos where they're clearly not, like their shoulders go way out, and they have just a straight torso where there's no hips anywhere. That, yeah, it's not possible for them to have kids unless that's why they're all doing in vitro and stuff like that. Or you can also look up how they're constantly being pregnant by the moon bump, or, you know, being pregnant in their 40s or later on in their 40s, twins or all that stuff. So just look up the moon bump. It's a big business of pregnancy suits throughout trimesters of pregnancy. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of videos that you can watch on this about this transition and this deception, but it was really hard for me to realize that about Jewel, and that she could be one of them and also in this agenda, even though the information that she shares seems to be so pure and innocent, again, what I like, and wise and deep. But if it's coming from this source of, well, we know the source, the darkness with children and all of that, then it's detrimental. You can't grow in that way. You become stuck. And I was having this conversation with my friend about the spirit of delay and dream thieves, destiny thieves, and there's just so much we are inviting in our lives without being aware of it psychically when we're giving our attention to these artists, thinking that they have a good message, or they're deep, or they get it, or they're awake. No, none of them do. None of them are going to have our best intention in mind, because they have an agenda, and that is to hold us in a certain way, even though it sounds and it comes in a good package. And when I fully was able to realize this, which took me a long time and was really a big shock for me and really broke my heart, I was then able to, you know, ask myself, well, who do I listen to then? How do I know, you know, who has a true message behind it, kind of a thing, that, you know, is coming from a pure source and not from children suffering, and doesn't want to push that dark agenda, but our divine birthright, right? So maybe I'll take a little break and read your comments as I go to the next part, but this was my big realization and awakening. Thank you guys for coming back and finding me. Again, I'm so sorry. I think I violated YouTube community standards. It's creepy that they call it a community, because there's a video with Anne Hathaway talking about the trans movement and how they are a community, and they're a concerned community, and they're not going to stop until they wipe out the way it is now, because that's considered barbaric according to them. And yeah, it's just such an extreme, and yeah, very, very disturbing. Anyway, I can't talk about, no, I cannot, but like I said, even on BitChute, they have these things censored. No, women cannot have Adam's apples unless you want to talk about that they're not born women. But then that's I have to be careful again there with what I'm saying. No, women do not have them naturally. When Layla Mace interviewed you, both had short hair, and you both said you cut your hair for the same reason at the same time. Was that a spiritual reason? But now it's long again. I don't remember. I know that mostly I would cut my hair when I was living in really hot countries, and hair is just really a pain in the butt for me. I can't stand long hair. I'm only doing it because my mom doesn't like she says, like, you know, it's just nicer to have long hair on a girl, and it's beautiful and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, for me, it's a lot of work and I'm lazy. I just don't like it. I prefer it short, and it's just easier to manage and stuff like that. But I haven't had a chance to go to a hairdresser in a while, and so it's just gotten really, really long and crazy, like really long. Even my bangs, I was supposed to do my bangs, but they've grown out quite a bit now, and yeah, I don't know. It's not really important. Do I know my birth chart? I know I'm a triple fire Sagittarian, that pretty much all the planets are in the Sagittarian house. Wait, yeah, something like that. Everything's in Sagittarian in my chart. But I do have like a North Node in Cancer. That means to nurture the earth, and why I feel so much love for humanity and in love with their potential and how differently we can live. You can put in artificial women as well. Yes, you can. There's a whole bunch of that you can research too. A lot about cloning as well. I've been watching these other people as well. A YouTube channel called The Mind Unveiled. I highly recommend them, particularly their videos about the Cabbage Patch Children, and why the stories come from about kids being people being told that kids come from storks and cabbage patches. It's very, very creepy and disturbing. Stems from these postcards in the early 1900s known as the repopulation agenda, of babies coming from all these different places, grown in the ground, orphan trains in the water, and so forth. Like, where did all these babies come from? Where are the parents? Why were they always for sale? There's all this speculation information, and then also that the Cabbage Patch Children in the 80s, and how they wanted, when you got one of those dolls, you had to you got a birth certificate of them, which was also creepy. And then you also had to give away your information of the kid that got the doll, and their name and when they were born and all that kind of stuff for some reason. So I mean, I have an understanding of what that's about now, but I recommend you to do your own research on it. But yeah, then there was also in the 80s the Garbage Pail Kids, which was an offshoot of the Cabbage Patch Kids, and they're more disturbing, and constantly different ways to disembowel them, which is like clone versions gone bad, and particularly a lot of cartoons I grew up with as a kid kind of going along this agenda of orphans, why we had so many shows about orphans and main characters like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, Little Orphan Annie, a lot of Disney shows, Rescuers Down Under, or The Rescuers, actually, I think it was. Just this constant bombardment of orphans, and people watching these videos from Mind Unveiled who were orphans, who ended up being adopted and looking for birth information about their parents later on, found out that all the information they were told was exactly the same as other people who were looking for information about their children, about their parents. So everyone's getting the same story. So there's something really creepy going on there, and that's all tied to like Cabbage Patch dolls. And then also, if you remember that artist in the 80s and 90s, Anne Gades, who would have babies in cabbages and babies in roses and all that, would be kind of considered cute and art, but there's a disturbing truth behind that, and reason why we are being subjected to these particular images, which is the fact that it pertains to cloning, and that cloning has been around for a long time, and that it's just listening or looking at these comments and these videos it's quite disturbing. Even just one person talked about how her mother told her that her baby was taken from her, and she was replaced and left with this girl. And these weird sort of changeling stories and stuff like that that are quite common, or grandparents who were told that they come from storks and cabbage patches, and there's so much information behind that. I need to drink water, sorry. So yeah, look up the YouTube channel The Mind Unveiled for more information about that. They also cover a lot of stuff about Tartaria. Okay, let me go through all these comments. Do I love food forests? I like food and I like forests, so no forests have plenty of food, so I don't know. No, you can't trust anyone, really. It's so true. Even the people of your role models, because they're not who they claim to be. And I think that when we're able to do that, then our true teacher can show up, or the person, even like your guides, can only work with you or help you as much as you're willing to, like where you're giving your energy and focus to, right? And we give a lot of our focus to songs. Like I have a big memory when it comes to songs. I've memorized over 5,000 songs. I can't even keep track anymore, but any song I hear, I instantly know all the lyrics to it, and that's not necessarily a good thing. That's actually showing how conditioned I can be towards this information, how effective this brainwashing is. No different than going to school and reciting facts and regurgitating it. So yes, I'm very now conscientious about that when I hear anything mainstream, and how it wants to take my attention and focus away from deeper things, more important things about the Matrix, rather than they're constantly finding ways to pull you back into the Matrix, to make you care about their idols, to worship their idols, rather than see the truth of what's really going on. There was a massive windstorm when I was in Mexico as well. Transhumanists play on a constant feud between repressive religious people, gay trans people, if people's intolerance and ignorance that is leading society to... It's okay, I'm not going to read this out because we've got to be careful that YouTube will probably not allow that. But yeah, we've got to be very skeptical of them and what they're constantly trying to put out there towards us to create this dystopia. Again, I don't think they're going to be successful, but we have to be really honest with ourselves, and it's not pleasant. It's very sobering, and it really threw me for a loop for a while, and I'm just like, I knew I was going to talk to you about it, but how I was going to talk to you about it, and I knew I'd probably be censored as well, which I'm not surprised there. So that's immediately the first thing that popped up when I tried to go live again, is like, oh, don't violate our community standards. We're going to let you go live again, but here's the warning. So, oh, thank you. That's probably the tan from Mexico. You can't see my peeling, how much I'm peeling right now, because, yeah, if I burn, I just put black tea bags on, and it gets rid of the burn right away. Do I think the Great Awakening, which we often hear these days, is actually leading us to somewhere dark? No, I think though that there is definitely controlled opposition and a psyop happening simultaneously that's meant to kind of throw us off that. But you can kind of see the signs of that when they say, oh, just sit back, you're watching a movie. Someone else is going to save the day, the White Hats or POTUS or whatever. They could all likely be trans. Looks like they are. There's a lot of videos on that. And so even Robert what's his name? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Wife, if you look at the wife, is clearly not biologically female. Anyway, yeah, so if we're looking at it like that, then yes, so like woke or awaken, right? I'm awake, I'm not woke. There's two different words, so they're very similar. They're kind of trying to, one's trying to blur the other one out, or just blur the lines for people, so they And that's why it's very important to just keep awakening, keep willing to pull back the layers, and keep willing to be honest with ourselves, no matter how unpleasant it is. Like, I just had a hard time accepting. First, I thought, okay, it's just a few of them here and there. Oof, I need more water. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's a lot of them. But when you start to do research, when you understand between what a biological woman is and a biological male is, and how convincing they can make, and how they also start with them in the fetal stage, particularly with cloning, and how particular it can be with features and height and all these details of what they'd want the child to be, then it's truth is stranger than fiction. I was always saying that. I wasn't aware it was on such a mass scale that it is, and that it was going on for as long as it was as well. It's just understand these differences, research it, research what I did, like look at people who are open trans, and how people's before and after of what they look like, and the process it takes, and how they change their voice, and look up castrati as well, what that word term is and where it came from, and came from Italy. It came from beautiful singers who these voices that were almost like considered unearthly, but that came from castrating young boys from the age of 7 to 9 years old. And then if you give them a sex change, then you have these singers like Mariah Carey, who has a male last name, Ariana Grande, these voices, Sia, that are just, so they'll talk about, there are videos of people talking about changing their voice, how a male can sound female and how female can sound male. And I recommend you look into that. It's really important. So I think that the Great Awakening, though, the true Great Awakening is going to happen, whether they're trying to stop it in whatever way, or distract us, or pull us away in whatever, but it's going to happen. So all these things are not going to work. Just like what we're, witnessing right now is just one thing after another falling apart, and then another desperate attempt to scare us and pull us back into Matrix kind of thinking, so they can continue to siphon out our energy. The Disney singing girls often look like boys, and Lady Gaga says she identifies as a female, but has both parts. Trans Lives interview. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's so much of that. I've researched a lot of that, and you notice that a lot of like the Backstreet Boys look very feminine, and a lot of the quote unquote females out there look quite male. Particularly a lot of them in bikinis have an Adonis belt. That is a male trait. Again, I gotta be careful with what I say. There's ways you can tell on the fingers and the hands as well. I have big shoulders as a female. I always am kind of conscientious of it because I like to swim, and they're called swimmer shoulders. But my shoulders are parallel to my hips, so they end where my hips do, whereas a male's shoulders extend way out past. So they can do all these surgeries and genetic modification, but the bones in the hips don't lie. See, they're always telling us in their videos, in their songs, in their, everything. Have you heard of the clone of us that live in the tunnels underground? I know of the movie Us. I don't ever watch these movies, but these movies sometimes come to my conscious that I need to kind of pay attention to. And then what I'll do is I'll watch movies explained, so I don't have to watch the movie, but I'll get the concept. And just these clone versions of us existing underground, basically waiting to take our place and stuff like that. I've got to be careful with this because there's a lot of fear here, and my intention is not to put you guys into fear. It's just to be aware that there are these kind of agendas, and there are a lot more clones out there than we might be aware of. I am aware of this underground tunnels, of this stuff going on. There is a big clone factory in Toronto, Canada, called Clonaid. There's a guy called Donald Marshall who talks a lot about there, and how there's all these bases and how royal the queen is always there, and all these celebrities that are clones, and why, you know, Britney Spears' music video, Break the Ice, is about her in an animated world walking through a clone lab and destroying all the clones of her, and things like that, and how they like to torture their clones, and yeah, all these just messed up things. And they're very much obsessed with music. So they're having him constantly write songs for these artists, famous artists, and stuff like that. So they are very aware of how powerful this music is over us. Even all these rock songs, because I'm a classic rock girl. My dad raised me on just all different kinds of music. That's probably why I remember music so well, even though I can't sing at all. That I can mimic singers as best I can. I try. But yeah, like, it's true. These things are happening, and we just need to be aware of that. We don't need to be afraid of it. We just need to know this is what's going on. And again, this is Revelations. This is Apocalypse. So and what that means. It means the same thing in Latin, to come to light of what's been hidden. So as scary as it is, we have to look at it. We can't just be like, I only want to see fairies. I only want to see sugar plums and like everything nice and positive. No, we have to be willing to see everything. We have to not be like, I don't want to see something because it's negative or that's not my reality. Well, I mean, we have to look at reality, you know, for what it is. I look at it as a metaphor. If you're living on the beach and there's a big tidal wave coming to your house and we're trying to warn you of that, you can say, no, you're being negative, I don't want to hear that. Or you could be like, okay, well, this is the reality, I need to do something, or I'm gonna, you know, be wiped away. So this is what we have to constantly keep in mind, that we're living in this collective living nightmare right now, that we are transitioning into it being a heaven on earth. But in order to do that, we have to go through all these layers of darkness. We have to see this deception that's been going on for a long time. We have to understand just how much truth is stranger than fiction. All these movies and shows that we've seen are actually true. All these, that's why I can't watch horror movies. I've known they're true. And like, even that movie, like that, oh God, what's it called? This stupid 80s Camp Sleepaway or something, right? Like there's just, it's so disturbing, and these things are true, and that's the reason why they're putting it out there to our subconscious. We don't know what it's doing to us on a psychic level. We don't know what we're inviting this way. Again, the spirit of delay and destiny thieves. I know one's asked the question about that, but I'll get into that, and I'll just say that the spirit of delay is a being that works to keep finding reasons to stall your life until you have no time left, and you die, and you never end up doing your destiny or anything like that, because there's a lot of destiny thieves out there too. We need to be aware of that, and again, we've got to look at these things soberly. We can't just be stoned and high all the time, or just get lost to blissful feelings, because this is to be a true light warrior, to lead people past this. We go through it. I'm going through it, and I'm learning about it, so I can teach others about it as best I can, as honestly as I can. But of course, it's helpful to have. I'm so glad to see so many more people speaking about it, and so much better than what I'm learning. That's one of the things that, because of realizing and awakening to this, I ended up finally connecting with someone who has something like a starseed school or university, which is something I've always wanted to do, but got frustrated that I have such big dreams and I had no idea how to make them come to fruition, and so I'd get very frustrated with them, because it's like, why do, like, it's teasing me. Like, even Anastasia, I love Anastasia, of course, but at the same time, it's like, it's not tangible for life right now. We need a living example of someone that we can communicate with, and not just this sort of far away idea or map of the future of where we will be. That's great, but there's a bridge that's needed, a tangible bridge that's needed in order to get to this Anastasia timeline and way of living. And I'm glad to have found people that are, I guess, doing the mission that I wanted to do long ago that got derailed for it, and I got derailed for it, and I guess it was because I was considered a threat. But it's good to know that even that I went through that it helped people, or the Sarah guides on the other side, realize this trap, so that the Cabal is well aware of when starseeds are coming to this planet, where they are landing, what their gifts are, and what they're planning on doing here, and they work very hard to send the spirit of delay and destiny thieves to prevent them from doing that. And in a way, I felt like I was prevented from doing it, but at the same time, it helped other souls on the other side that were going to incarnate, that would realize and learn through the traps that were set for me that I fell into, would prevent them from falling into it, right? It's like for our kids, we go through these things, and if we don't deal with it, then our kids end up getting it, like illnesses or whatever, like breast cancer in my family, for example. So I have that probably passed on to me now to overcome. If my ancestors fell victim to it, then I need to understand, you know, that spell, that curse, and break it. So that's what we're doing on a collective level, particularly as starseeds, star children. And I know that my mission was, in the early time, was to pave the way, but I had this huge passion. I had 90 projects of things I wanted to do, and I still really want to do them, and I'm really happy to know that I will be, and that 2024 is going to be very, very different than all the other years for starseeds, because it's activated a kind of energy that couldn't be here before, and is going to change things dramatically in our own personal lives first. And so through the Starseed University, I'm also going to be learning more about how to make lives, how to make videos, how to put myself out there again, because it's weird. I used to just do it naturally. I never edited my videos, and people never cared, but now we have like this great, everyone's got this amazing quality now, right? And so it's like, get with the time. So it's nice to see this sort of, I guess, things that I went through not be in vain. So yeah, I'm gonna look at the comments because I'm getting a little bit emotional. What do I think about the Department of Energy funding of both the Human Genome Project and the fusion reactors? Maybe you can tell me a bit more about that. I probably have heard of it, but not in that way. Likely I've heard the clone theory of a switch from Sagittarius arm to here in Orion arm. I mean, there's so many clues with the stars, right? I'm a double fire with Moon and Taurus, making me earthly. Definitely. Sometimes I prefer instrumental music while I'm working, so you can have my own thoughts. Well, you know, Andromedans are super interesting. They are very much fascinated by our music, and they collect our music, but they only are interested in non-lyric music, so melodies. And there's a starseed I've come across who has this beautiful music from that works with Andromeda, and the sounds that come through her are just beautiful, you know, and pure. Like, there are, unfortunately, this transgender movement is also in the let's say the spiritual movement as well. So a while ago I did a live and someone said that Teal is trans, and there's more indication that that is the case, but then also same with Joe Rogan, and yeah, so just keep in mind that too, that there are a lot of public figures that are seeming like they're for the truth and the light, but they're really still, you know, on that agenda that darker agenda. Cabbage Patch Kids was like the first movie ever made over 100 years ago. Yes, that's right. There is in the Cabbage Patch Fairy in 1920, and they actually got rid of a lot of the other videos that were made on that, and it's hard to find online, but there are some footage that are really bizarre of these like fields of cabbages and this fairy coming and harvesting and bringing the children in, like children are being grown, like indicating grown in labs, particularly if there's a correlation to invasion of the body snatchers, and when the clones are being created they look very much like cabbage in the beginning. So yeah, that's something else that you can look at on Mind Unveiled YouTube channel. Orphan trains and selling children was big 150 years ago. In the 1900s to the early 1800s, it was called the repopulation agenda. So a lot of people think that's correlation to Tartaria and us being wiped out and us having to start again, but this time starting again with a lot of clones. Joey and the Polar Express is another one. Oh my gosh. So many stories, and all of our holidays all derive of this, and orphans too, like Little Rascals. That all comes from them being orphans in a club and constantly being adopted, and then other Little Rascal friends of theirs showing up at the house as well, causing mayhem and mischief to the point that they end up in the orphanage again. So you'll always be a part of this club. You'll always be in the orphan club. I'm still doing a video.
Okay,
So,
I just didn't know. That's
okay,
all right.
okay. Let me continue, please.
You can continue.
Okay.
Let me get the puppy out. They just ran in and
Go,
catch him
Peachy.
out.
Go, Peachy.
Bo has to come in because he'll follow it.
Okay, no, leave it. Just please close the door. I guess because I've been doing a video for quite a while now. Not to mention Raggedy Ann, which was always weird to me. Yeah, and then there's this weird, creepy movie too that they're going to talk about in the Mind Unveiled YouTube channel called Patch Town, which talks about these people working in a lab and collecting children out of cabbages, and then realizing that they themselves were from those cabbages, and that they eventually become Cabbage Patch like dolls that are given to children, and then when the children don't want them anymore, like just this weird creepy thing about what happened to our Cabbage Patch dolls. I had one as a kid. There's a picture of me with it and my sister, and most people who had one don't remember what the heck happened to it, where did it go, and they're trying to say in that movie that, you know, that turns back into a kid again, from a clone to a kid, is just weird, creepy stuff. And there's also the place where the guy who came up with the idea of Cabbage Patch dolls, like there's this town in the States that has, this area where they supposedly Cabbage Patch dolls came from. There's this creepy tree with these purple lights, and they treat it like they have nurses, they're real nurses, they're giving birth to Cabbage Patch children, and they treat it like a real birth and everything, a real hospital, and they do all the same procedures they would do on a living human on these dolls. And that's also on the Mind Unveiled channel, but you can just also look it up, like this place in Cabbage Patch, where they come from, or the tree, or something like this. I'm getting a little bit fried here in the light. Yes, please stay safe, Misty Moon, about the weather. It's crazy everywhere. It was snowing when I left for Mexico, pouring rain here the whole time I was gone, and now I arrive and it's sunny, but apparently it was, and when I got to Mexico it was raining and storming as well. So my vision of Rockabye Baby on the treetop is disturbing, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, The Simpsons even did a parody of that, like, literal saying, but there's also videos of a lady who dissects all the origins of our nursery rhymes, or, like, for example, with the orphan one and Cabbage Patch, there's an old lady that lived in a shoe who had so many children she didn't know what to do, right? Or Ring Around the Rosie, you know, what that's actually about. basically a nuclear bomb, and just all these things that we think these things that we grew up with, not really knowing what they actually are about, and the dark origin of them that is put into our unconscious mind at such a young age, that is attacking us and giving us all these mind viruses. And it's just there's so many things to awaken to and be aware of. Got to be very vigilant mind. Oh, thank you. Hit the like button. I never ask you guys to hit the like button or subscribe ever. I just rant if I can make the video. Like, I know you guys like try to reach me, and I like I said, I tried to do a video and then I didn't have internet, so I had it scheduled for this time, and so yeah. They did that to male singers so they wouldn't change the voice. Yeah. Sorry, I jumped around and talked about so many things, but you can see how they all connect. They took the children from the parents who gladly wanted to save their babies from mud floods, but then refused to rescue them. Or they are just a bunch of clones that they had for sale, because these cards are always saying for sale, kids for sale, babies for sale. I posted on the last feed, video of Elvis as a woman, had the hips and lips. And that's what I was indicating, that looking up and researching, even all the males that we are considered heartthrobs and are super good looking, you can clearly see that they have female hips. Even if they're very, very muscly and buff, they're still, it's just, there's a really good Facebook video that I have and that I've been sharing to other people privately about, again, people who are open about that they are trans. And what they looked like before the transition to what they look like now. And it is so convincing, like you would never guess. And even down to top surgery and bottom surgery, and then just explaining the process and how they change their voice and how they're able to sing like a male and a female. Like, you can just now, like, I can't unsee it, right? Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, I can see their females, I can see their partners, their males, and so many more. Like, it's just like we have a group of people that are researching, and we keep hoping to find one that is actually there, that's not an invert, and we haven't even been able to find one celebrity, one famous person. So keep that in mind as you start looking and digging down that, if I'm the one to introduce you to this. Apparently it's been very big since, and people have wakened up to this since before the pandemic, and yeah, they've been called like conspiracy theorists and stuff like that, of course, because he ended up talking about Mystery was exposing oh god, was it Giselle Bundchen and his partner as both inverts. He's an athlete, I think, famous athlete. So it just like blows my mind to think about, again, the deception. All the athletes, all the boxers, fighters, could all be female, and rock stars and actors and everything like that. And then vice versa for all the females that we know about and grew up with, or James Bond, or supermodels, or porn stars, could actually all be male. And how much that messes with our psyche, and how much that confuses us, and how they blur the lines and try to normalize it. And really it's all for the depopulation agenda. Again, it's not gonna work, but again, we can only, with the collective waking up to see it and be willing to see it. And I keep visualizing the world being where we just don't give any attention or interest anymore to anything mainstream. I have this lovely visual of all these concerts of these stars, rock stars, Taylor Swift, whoever else. No one shows up to their shows. No one gives a damn. No one wants to be brainwashed by these assholes anymore or make them like billionaires anymore. I mean, these people are buying like $1 million countertops because of us, because we're giving them the money, and we're slaving away in the matrix, or siphoning our energy in every possible way. and draining us, and yet here we are willing to give them more because we worship them, because we put them on a pedestal, because we think they're better than us, because we think they're so lucky. This Hollywood story, they drive out to LA and get discovered, it's all bullshit, you know, like these people are born into it, or they want it so bad that they are willing to, you know, sell their soul, do a sacrifice of someone close to them, and convert their, become an invert themselves. Again, I gotta be very careful what I say, so my tone has become like, and I'm trying to mumble a little bit or swallow my words a bit, just in case. I've seen leaked video of huge underground societies, however, I don't know if it was real. It's real. What is the point of inverting the sex of famous people? Create confusion and remove our power? Well, think about it. Also, just think about if they are Satanists and their god is Baphomet, and Baphomet is half male, half female. And then if that's your god, then you want to become your god, as close to your god as possible. There's a lot of videos also of researching and talking about going into the history of this, because, I mean, this has been around for a very long time, and they've been around for a very long time, putting out this, just, again, it's to do with not being able to conceive anymore the way we have before, right? It's a depopulation agenda, it's a confusion agenda, it's blurring the lines, and yeah, it's just look into it more. These are really good questions that, like, there's people that done great videos in the depth of this that I do not have the capacity to do right now. Underground tunnels in every country and everywhere, and they do not allow access these days, but still some openings around. Yes. What if your clone comes up and approaches you? Will you embrace or fight? I don't know. I mean, I think about that for celebrities or people, or, you know, horror movies who have this kind of encounter scenario played out. I try not to visualize these kind of things. I look at it more as a metaphorical kind of way, because we do have copies of ourselves that exist, like, you know, through the looking glass, or mirror versions of ourselves and so forth, or facets of ourselves that we don't want to see nor admit that we need to. So I look at it more like that I'm constantly doing like this soul archaeology of myself, and considering about pieces of myself that I am not could give more attention to and try to understand better. So yeah, I don't really think about it in the literal sense. I know people have had to unfortunately experience that kind of a nightmare. But yeah, these are some things we have to be careful with what we give our energy to or think about with possible scenarios. And movies are set like that for a reason, because they're trying to put people in that kind of mind frame, and I don't think that's very helpful or productive. It's like just imagining constant worst case scenarios when it hasn't happened yet, even though it's happened to other people. Okay. I can never watch horror movies unless it had an intelligent story or message and wasn't about the horror. Yeah, but what one is that way though? Like, maybe Cabin in the Woods. Again, I couldn't watch it, but I had someone explain the movie on YouTube. There's people that will explain every movie to you instead of having to watch it and see the gory details. That if the story had something kind of profound, and that one was very interesting if you look into that one. And that's a very first, I think, a Chris Hemsworth movie that made him quite famous. No new city, mostly government workers and retired folks from international industries. A lot of children because affordable now for families. I don't like that. I don't like how it's considered like you can only have kids if you can afford it, that they're considered like an inconvenience. That's not right. It shouldn't be that way. That has to change. I'm surprised you haven't found a portal somewhere lovely. Maybe because you want to help too much, then universe keeps sending you people to help. You know, it's kind of funny you say that. Of course, I definitely want to help. I don't want to leave no matter what. Like I want to be here for as long as I can and help and do whatever I can. That's very, very strong within me. But I do have the ability to create portals to other places. I did this by accident. My friend was telling me about